Registration Information Center in New York, or some are calling it ERIC in New York. They want you to join ERIC, which sounds a little weird, but anyhow, that's a separate issue. To break all of this down, let's bring in the Senior Vice President of AMAC, Charles Stucklen. Charles, great to have you with us. So let's talk about this a little bit, this ERIC system. Apparently there's some controversy behind it and AMAC's involved. Tell us more. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you. So yeah, as you said, ERIC stands for the Electronic Registration Information Center, and it was launched in about 2012 by some well-known Democrat operatives, I guess you could say, who later actually launched the Center for Election Innovation and Research, well-known Zuckerbucks organization, received millions in prior elections. So they're really an organization that's received grants. They've influenced elections across the country. So from the start, ERIC's roots are deeply political. Now, the pitch sounds fine on paper, states sharing DMV data to clear up voter rolls. But the reality, ERIC is failing at its core mission and doing damage in the process. So here's how it works. ERIC takes data from state departments of motor vehicles. They search for what they call eligible but unregistered voters, and encourages states to send out registration mailers paid for with your tax dollars. But what they don't tell you is ERIC, by its own documentation, does not require or verify citizen status in the DMV data it collects. So think about that. ERIC is literally flagging people with no way to verify if they're even citizens and prompting states to add them to voting rolls. So this isn't theory. This has already happened. In fact, in multiple states, it's been reported that non-citizens have received voter registration mailers just because they had a driver's license. And a recent federal lawsuit in Wisconsin revealed that the Department of Transportation turned over confidential DMV records, which were then used to target voters with outreach efforts. So it raises serious questions about how data was assessed, how it's used, how it's accessed, and whether citizens even consented. And it just gets worse. In the discovery from that case, we learned that in states where they do not use ERIC, they're actually doing more to audit and clean up voter rolls than those that are using the program. So let me just repeat that. So in non-ERIC states that claims to clean up voter rolls, they're outperforming when it comes to removing ineligible voters. So if the system doesn't verify citizenship, it misuses private data, and it performs worse than states that opt out, I mean, why is New York even considering it?
So the system is inherently flawed, which of course leads to the question, what can AMAC members in New York and some of the other states that are using this ERIC program do to push back to try to do away with this system?
So AMAC Action has taken the lead in promoting calls to action that would essentially, what AMAC Action does here is we engage. We don't just sit and, we don't just sit back and watch. So we act fast. So through AMAC Action, our members in New York were alerted immediately when legislation to join ERIC was introduced in Albany. And within days, our members sent over 16,000 messages to just 35 members of the Ways and Means Committee. That's nearly 480 messages per legislator, all demanding that they strip ERIC, the ERIC provision from the recent 2 assembly bills. So this is what we do at AMAC. We give our members the tools and the voice to push back at scale, not just with email, not just with phone calls, but with real organized advocacy. And, that's really the power of AMAC Action and our grassroots advocacy arm.
What's next for this legislation?
So great question. What's next? Not just for the bill in Albany, but for ERIC itself, because this isn't just about one state. This is about data integrity. So voter roll accuracy and election security, let's be clear, the voter rolls are the most important layer of any election. They are the front door to our democracy. So if they're bloated, if they're broken, if they're filled with bad data, then the entire system is vulnerable. So ERIC was supposed to fix that. Instead, it's really made things worse. So what's next? We expose what ERIC has been doing and not doing. So we call on more states to exit the program, which has already been happening since 2012. And we push for real, transparent, citizen-focused reforms that not just verify, not assume, but because the vote is sacred, we need actual verifiable information on the voter rolls. And if we can't trust how our voter rolls are managed, we can't trust the outcome. So at AMAC, we're not letting this go, not in New York, not in anywhere in the country.
So let me just get this straight, Charles. So you mentioned driver's license before. So what? These are fake driver's licenses? I mean, or they're, because if they're non-citizens, how does the driver's license thing work? Because then at that point, they potentially get to be registered through this system? I'm trying to understand that part of it.
So in New York, for example, I'm sure you're aware of the green light bill, which essentially gives non-citizens in New York State the ability to get a valid driver's license. Now, the ERIC system, by its own bylaws, by its own documentation, which you can find, does not explicitly does not require verification of citizenship status from the DMV rolls it's collecting from various states. So think about that. Put those two things together. New York State is allowing non-citizens to get a driver's license, and ERIC, the one who's claiming to clean up voter rolls. In addition, what we found is they're not just cleaning up rolls, they're finding out for, let's say, for example, in Virginia, 180 or 160,000 either dead people or people who are moved out of the state that they recommended are eligible but unregistered voters. So you have the combination of giving non-citizens a driver's license and a system that does not even look to see if they're a citizen. I mean, you can put the two things together and understand why we're concerned.
Wow. This Eric guy sounds very dangerous. Wow. My goodness.
Exactly.
Hey, Charles, thank you so much. By the way, real quick, give everybody the address where they can go, web address for AMAC.
So yeah, if you want to get involved with AMAC Action, do us a favor and go to amac.us/sunrise. Support this program, support Real America's Voice, and support AMAC. By becoming an AMAC member, you get put onto the rolls for our calls to action. This means every time we run a specific statewide call to action, you get sent an email asking you to engage. It's very simple to respond to our calls to action. You write the letter, we provide it for you, and it contacts your congressional representative. So it's a system that we've been using for years. We do tens of thousands of emails, phone calls to state legislators on your behalf in your name. So go to amac.us/sunrise. Join as an AMAC member today and start to get involved. That's how we change things here in this country.
Okay. Well, Charles, thanks for being here. Great information. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Charles.
All right. Coming up, we're going to have that White House